You feel like the rigging you've got is not enough? Let's take it to the extreme. Alright, stay tuned as we take a look at some additional rigging you can put on your ship if you feel up to it, and make your ship stand out that much more on the tabletop. Alright, stay tuned. Hello, and welcome to this, I think it's probably the final video in a series dedicated to rigging the ships for your Black Seas game, or really any of the ships from several different games that deal with Age of Sail. But today we're going crazy, okay? With my scale modeling background, I've taken my rigging to a completely different level. And I've seen some other individuals do this, except I've introduced kind of a couple different techniques that I would like to cover in this video. So we're going to talk about the rest of the rigging topics and how you can make your models look even that much more detailed with, relatively speaking, a minimal amount of additional effort. Though, to be honest, it'll take a lot of extra work. In the time it takes you to do this extreme rigging, I call it, you could probably rig up a whole other ship. So this is not for the faint of heart, but it's also, honestly, anyone can do this. This isn't something that's you have to be a master modeler to do. I know I'm not. So let's take a look at what's different between what we talked about before and what we're going to do in this video. Alright, so in the previous videos we kind of covered some of the basics of rigging and some other ideas I had to enhance the look of your models. Now, coming from a scale model background, I kind of went crazy in some of my models. You look at the third rate, especially in the first rate ships, there's so much room. They're bigger models. They just scream out to have all the extra rigging. Well, not all of it, but a lot of the extra rigging. Now, this video we're going to kind of cover the running rigging, really, which is all the rigging that actually operated the sails and yard arms. Okay, these are the ones that you actually can, with a little bit of extra time, you can actually add into your on your models. They're larger models with relative ease. It takes a little bit of work on the smaller ones, like the frigate. I wouldn't even bother trying on the brig. We'll take a look at some of the models and kind of the different types of steps you'll do that you haven't done before. In a previous video, we talked a little bit about different rigging sizes and how there was the heavy black and there was a thinner black. There's also a even thinner tan, gray, or buff color. Okay, that's what we're going to talk about today, the tan or buff colored one. On this card, you'll see very faintly at the bottom, is a thread size called designated 8/0, okay, or 8/0. This is thinner than the 6/0, and actually, when you get into threads like this, these happen to be fly tying threads. When you get into threads like this, they're measured in things called deniers, which gives you an idea of the thickness. So this is 8W, or sorry, 8O. It's 72D, 72 denier. The black one, the 6O, which is right above it, is roughly the same. It's a little bit thicker than 70, because denier actually is a better indicator of the thickness. So, but fly tying thread is a great way to go, or just you can go to the sewing shop if you can find the thinner threads that look right to you. Go for it. But here we're going to talk about the running lines. So, what is this about? All right, let's take a quick look at a model. Now, this is my Centissima Trinidad, and this is the first Black Seas model I built, just because I couldn't wait to build him. Unfortunately, I came across all these other ideas after I finished this, so oh well. But in this video, we're actually going to go ahead and try to add some of this special rigging on an already existing model, because a lot of you might already have this done, but if you want to take kind of your models to another level, a completely different level, and you feel like it, then this is something that might interest you. Alright, let's take a quick look at a third rate that has the extra rigging before we go any further. So here we have all that additional rigging going between the yard arms and the mainmast. That's really what we're dealing with here. Okay, so we need to add these. There's a lot of it, so we want to be careful. You don't want to add too much necessarily, but to make things simple, let's take a quick look at, let's look at this photo of the HMS Victory. Now, in it, it's, you know, it's black and white, so you really can't tell. A lot of the lines are really thick. There's a thin. There's very little difference between the thin black and the thin tan. That's just the way it is, because we're talking about 1/700 scale, and this picture's small as well. But when you look at it, take a look. You'll notice a lot of the rigging that goes between the mast and the two different masts, front to back. Really, it's not going from mast to mast. It's actually going from the yard arm to the mast. And you can kind of, if you carefully observe, you can see where the line actually goes to the end of a yard arm to the middle of a mast. And so that's what we're going to run with today. Is we're going to take a look at some of those. Some of them are easy to do, some are not, especially on a finished model. But let's just take a quick look at what we did with the third brake. Actually, I'm going to use a frigate really quick because it's a little easier to see on it. This is probably the only frigate I'm going to do this to, just for the record, because there's so much to it. I'm going to change the exposure so you guys hopefully can see it even better. Sorry. Okay, now we're going to zoom in a little bit. Okay, now you can see, let's start here at the bottom. Okay, we have from the main mast yard arm here going back to right here where the basically behind the almost at the aft, almost at the stern plate itself. That's one of the ways to control the angle of this yard arm. That's the only one in this model that goes to from a yard down to the mast. Now there's examples, you can see photos and illustrations of lines from here, the foremast, going down somewhere into the in this area. It'll vary, but again, you can do that. Most of you can see I patterned a lot of this off of the Diana Arsenal model or the HMS Victory, and you'll see that most of the yard arms from the foremast ends, or the ends of the yards, actually go back to the main mast, and a lot of the ones from the mizzen mast, the yard arms go to the main mast. So they're always going in, except for now the main mast. Those I've seen them go mostly to the foremast. So from the top here, it goes down to the middle of the foremast. From here, it actually goes down to the mizzen mast. So it can go in either direction. So you can play with it all you want, whichever way you feel like it's more what you're interested in. Now, this is the front interesting one. Warlord has you run a line from the hull here to the end of the yard arm here to the tip. Well, in reality, that's not where it goes. The stays actually run to middle of the way through this. Where the running line here goes is it goes from this Dolphin Striker to the tip of the yard arm up to the top here on the foremast. That's really where it goes. So that's what I've tied up on this particular model. You can add as much as a little of this as you want. Now, the one thing I did not add on this model are the ropes that actually go from the top of the mast to the top of these top yard arms. I did add them here. Don't know if you can see that real well. There we go. From here all the way down to here. Okay. So I've done those. And you can do those pretty easily. Now, trying to get some of these other lines on while you already have a rigged ship, such as my Trinidad, that's going to be kind of a nightmare. So I'm not certain if I'm going to do that. I have to think about it. But in general, regardless of which ones you're using, which braces you're putting on, by the way, the braces are the ones that are the running lines that actually operate the sails going from the edge of the yard arm in. I'm going to show you how to work with those. It's really simple. All you really need is an overhand knot and a couple half hitches. That's it. Okay? Because it really is simple. So let me set up real quick, and we'll actually add some of these running lines to my Trinidad. Okay, this approach will work with almost all of these braces, and then after this we're going to talk about the gaff on the boom, the very back, the gaff sail. So let's start with our thinnest thread you can imagine. This is going to be really hard to show, but I'm going to kind of do it on the model, and then I may have to use this on a larger model as an example. You know, the Blood and Plunder model. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to use the bobbin in this case. I'm actually going to cut a segment of the thread, the thin tan thread, and I'm going to see if I can get a well, I hope I can. I do not know if you're going to be able to see this. We're going to try to put it here on that top part of the mast. So we're going to run it through here. Okay. And then we're going to actually do a simple overhand knot. And again, this is where tweezers come in really handy. Helps you position and grab and make it. Okay, there we go. Overhead knot. And just boom. Just tying it off. Really simple. Okay. And we're immediately going to place some super glue there. We have to hold that in position. And this, regardless of which of the braces you're putting on, this is always where you start. You start at the mast. Whether it's the lines holding the yard arm up to the mast, or the ones that are actually running gear or running ropes between the masts. Between the yard arm and the mast in front. You'll tie these in really quick at the mast first. And now, the next step is really simple. Once that's done, you use a half hitch tool like this, or if your pen, you can use a pen cap too, and you slip it over the end of the yard arm, just like that. Whoops. I'm going to actually have to grab some hackle pliers so that I can hold on to this much better. There we go. I can let the hackle pliers do the job of. There we go. Okay, there it is. So now it's whoops. Now notice how the yard arm's end is curved. That's what's going to make this a little on the difficult side. But you can still pull it off. Just enough patience. Okay. Here we go. Put it on there. Okay. Try not to let there be any slack. Let it just hang. Okay. And then immediately, again, place glue on the thread where it's touching the mast, or the yard arm. But again, not in front, in back. Okay. You're going to hold that in position. Okay. And then when that dries, you're actually going to you're going to make this an overhand knot. So now, you take the tag into the thread, and you bring it back behind, bring it back up here, so underneath where you just placed, underneath the line running from the tip of the yard arm to the top of the mast, pull it here. And I like to give it a couple wraps with this last wrap actually getting fed back through to make an overhand knot. Okay. And this again is where the hackle pliers help, because you can control, there it goes. So now it's hanging there, it's just tight. And now once this part is done, now you actually coat the knot with super glue. This kind of puts that, it seals the knot so that it cannot untie or slip on the yardarm. And simply do that on both sides and you're good to go. Okay. Alright, so let's take a look at this, the back mast here. Okay. So this is the one part of the ship where you're probably going to want to do the running rigging. If you're going to do running rigging, you'll want to do it before you start most of the rest of the rigging, not after. I don't think I'll be able to put this on the Trinidad. Well, I know I won't be able to, because you definitely have to do it before you mount the sail. And that is actually the two running lines that run from the top of this fighting platform here to the midpoint on the gaff boom and to the end. Okay, it's essentially, this is where you'll do a lark's head knot here on the mast, with one going down here and the other ending up here, tied off here. That is the only piece of running line, if you'll remember. That's the only one that's on this particular frigate. I haven't done the rest because I don't think I'm going to. But you can't really do that one easily after the rest of the rigging is on. So unfortunately, that's one that's going to be a little out of place. Alright, so let's take a look at the bowsprit now and see what might be different there. Alright, this is the one we worked on in the next level video. You can see I still left a piece of thread there on the bowsprit to get rid of. But we're talking about now, there's going to be some lines running from here on the bow to this yardarm on the bowsprit and back. Okay, actually, making an arc. And this is what it looks like on a finished third rate, or I should say completed third rate. Boy, it's really hard to see. There we go. There you go. Okay, see how it goes? Alright, and contrary to the way Warlord would have you do it, there's a different way of approaching it. First of all, let's recognize a couple different features that play into this. First is, as I mentioned earlier, the running lines go from the main foremast down to the tips of this yardarm to the what do you call it? The right in front here, in front of this Dolphin Striker, back down to the yardarm and back up to the foremast. Okay, that's what operates the actual yardarm. But now the actual stays, and these also help position and hold it secure, actually run in a very interesting location. Let me see if I can get the focus a little better here. Okay, you'll notice here you've got the sail is gathered at these points. Well, it just so happens that those points are the same points where the line would run from the hull to the yardarm to here and down. So take a look again. Here is the overhead view of the bowsprit. You can see those dark lines running. So from the yardarm, this point, up to halfway up the bowsprit, down the other side, all of them collect here at the same point, but they gather where these sails gather. So it's actually a convenient location, because what you can do is you can actually loop your thread at those gathering spot points right there as you're doing it. But now on a third rate, it's these actually, those lines, let's see if we can get some more visibility here. They're actually going to be going into this part of the deck on the in front of the forecastle. Okay. The thing is, there's no good place to tie it in. So what I've done is actually drilled out a hole underneath. There you can see the holes right there. 2 holes. And that's where I ran the lines through. And I was able to tape them off here and hold it in up here with super glue. Okay. So this is where you're going to need a pin vise. And it's any pin vise will do, but you need a much smaller bit than this. I think I used a number 67 drill bit, which honestly I think it's a 0.4. I forget what the actual size is. I'll put that down in the comment and it's here on the screen. So when I look that up. So what you do is the first thing you do is you take your thread and you put one end through that hole, the top hole, I'll call it here, and then one through that hole. So you get one here and one end through that, and you pull them through all the way so it's equidistant. You just glue it in place with super glue right here, and that holds it in place. Once that is dried, it doesn't move. Now you bring up both of them and do one side at a time. The first one comes up this on the inside most point here on the sail up to the mast, the bowsprit here. Bring it around again underneath, and then back down to the outermost point here on the sail where it's gathered, and then down back through the hole and then tape it in here. Now what you do in each of these positions here is you basically do you don't do a knot. You bring it tight so as it goes out, the knot, or sorry, I shouldn't say it's a knot, it goes over the top of the yard arm, underneath, and then up toward the bowsprit. Now if you're coming back, then it goes to the outside, over the top again, but you have to bring the line underneath and then feed it between the 2 threads here back down toward into the hull, taping it off in the end. Then when you have control, you can tighten it up plenty. Now then at that point you have this really nice look of the bowsprit and all the nice rigging going with. So you've got the black here and you got the tan going up to the foremast. Alright, so that's taking your whole rigging to an extreme. You don't have to do it, but if you want, there's something you can do. Now the last one, a little bit I want to talk about, is back here. If you're going to run from the foremast yard arm here down to the deck, or this main yard arm down to the back here, I found that it's supposed to be right here in the back, and the easiest thing to do is to actually drill a small hole, so you can see right here, and then that's where you tie it to. So you start by tying a 2F hitch there, bring it up here and do that little use the half hitch tool and just loop it up there and finish it just like we saw on the Trinidad, and then boom, you're done. Same thing with this one. You'll want to drill into here somewhere. Now it's actually going to be somewhere on the deck is where the belaying pins are, but you're going to find a spot that you want it to be, and then again drill the hole there, 2F hitches up to here, do the half hitch, and you're done. I chose instead to run it from here to, let's see if, there we go, to the main mast. That was my choice because that's what I've seen in pictures. Okay, all right. So that is the extreme rigging, or one way to do it, and I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you're going to get some out of that. Take a look at my final video that's going to be kind of just general tips on how to make your ships look good. Little things you can do that don't necessarily take a lot of effort. All right, thanks for watching. Share, like, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.